My first memory of being self-conscious of my body was at a very young age. It's hard to pinpoint the exact age, but I feel I was between ages 4 and 6. I remember someone at my mom's work said I looked like I was pregnant, which I then covered my stomach with my arms and felt embarrassed. I don't remember the context of this memory, I just know how it made me feel. I have a history of child sexual abuse around the age of 3, so my awareness of my body, in theory, started early on because of this. I also had a parent that was open about their criticism of their own body, and this would affect me and my sense of how I perceive my body through my childhood and teenage years. The years following my first memory of being aware and self-conscious of my body, I would have another memory of being told I looked really skinny, somewhere between ages 8 and 10, and feeling like it was a compliment. Following that memory, I remember crying in the dressing room around age 10 because I thought I looked fat in the bathing suit I was trying on. All of these fragmented memories were just foreshadowing to the explosion of hatred of how my body looked when I was 14 years old. A boy once insinuated that I had a little extra on my body at this age, and I still remember the terror that came over my face after he made this comment. There was a switch that flipped in my mind after that day, and I knew that food was the culprit of gaining weight. So for 8 years, I did everything I could to not keep it in my body. That topic is coming in another message in a few weeks. My obsession to be thin quickly led to me criticizing every inch of my body. My toes were too manly, my calves were too big, my index finger was shaped disgustingly, my nose was huge, my eyes weren't even with the other, my eyebrows were misshapen, my hairline was uneven, my head shape was awkward, my earlobes were too floppy, my skin was too pale. I hated every inch of my body, and the fact that I had to live in it constantly filled me with anxiety every moment of my existence. All of these insecurities circulated in my mind, but my weight and how big I looked were always at the forefront. Standing on the edge of the bathtub to look at myself in the bathroom mirror was my first obsession with body checking. As technology progressed, I would begin taking side profile pictures with the digital camera and later a smartphone to compare changes in my stomach size. Depending on my level of anxiety, I could change clothes and body check up to 10 times easily and never be satisfied with how I looked. I would have to avoid looking at myself when I would see my reflection in a car window because it would immediately cause anxiety and panic because I knew I would hate what I saw. Body checking and frequent clothing changes consumed my life. I also felt like loose-fitting clothes made me appear bigger, so I would use a sewing machine to make my clothes smaller. This technique to appear smaller only made my body dysmorphia and eating disorder I acquired along the way worse because I would now see my stomach poking out. I am a 5'6" tall female and weighed 105 pounds at my smallest. It's probably safe to assume my stomach was in no way poking out. This illusion of being bigger than I actually was is a part of body dysmorphia and is extremely dangerous if someone is making themselves physically sick in order to match what their idea of good looking is. With all of these constant thoughts of how I looked and how I wanted to look and how I would achieve that, I became anxious for people to see what I looked like in fear of their judgment. Being outside of this mindset, I now realize majority of people are not scanning your body for flaws. They are probably preoccupied with their own insecurities or completely unrelated thoughts. But when you are in the thick of this mindset of hating your body and how you look, You become paranoid that everyone else notices every defect that you are completely hyper aware of 24/7. The reason I would think others were judging my body is because I was constantly comparing myself to other females' bodies. So my mind just assumed that's how everyone's mind worked. This comparison of other female bodies was never a negative judgment on them. If I saw someone whose hairline was also off center, it actually made me feel a little better knowing I wasn't the only one. But if I saw someone who had nice shaped eyebrows, I would immediately become hyper aware of how my own eyebrows looked and would feel bad about myself. And my vibe probably changed as well from the outside perspective of other people who were around me. I was consumed by body dysmorphia consistently from around ages 14 to 31. Being thin was always the number one goal in my mind for how I wanted my body to look. When I was 27, I was accepted into an intensive academic program that increased my stress levels. My eating disorder at this time was a mixture of binge eating and emotional eating. So I gained about 20 pounds towards the end of my 2-year program, and then another 20 pounds during my first job as a professional. I was now over 200 pounds. Being this heavy was my worst fear actually coming true. For a while, I would avoid going out in public whenever I could because I didn't want people to see how big I had gotten. I wore t-shirts that were 2 sizes too big so I could avoid the truth of how much weight I gained. At this point in my life, I had done a lot of self-development work on my inner self and learned to accept myself for who I was, and I realized that I needed to do the same thing for my outer self. I began exposing myself to my own body and started walking around my apartment naked or barely clothed, and would look at my body in a full-length mirror periodically every day and just examine each part of my body. When you begin digging deep within yourself, you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. I was extremely uncomfortable when I first started doing this exercise. Many negative thoughts and judgments of my body ran through my mind, but I noticed the voice that was talking down on me wasn't really me. It was pure bruised ego. But there was another voice that started to surface. It was quiet at first, but when I was conscious of it, it grew louder. It disagreed with every negative thought the self-defeating voice had. It was loving and nurturing. It came up with humorous ways of accepting the body it was analyzing. This voice was my highest self's voice, and ever since I uncovered it, it's never gone away. It's been about 4 years since that time, and my goals for my body right now are not to be thinner, or to somehow align my eyes to be perfectly matched with the other. They are to be healthier and to move more and challenge my body in little ways that will add up over time. I can't remember the last time my body checked myself with photos, plucked my eyebrows until they were almost non-existent, or spent time thinking about the shape of my head. And those obsessive thoughts will not be missed. Every human body has flaws. No one is perfect. Our bodies are what allow us to experience life on this planet, and there are so much more interesting things to interact with and many more relevant issues to focus on than how our vessels look. Wouldn't it be a dream to have the ability to just accept yourself for who you are right now in this very moment? Well, you do. You have full control over how you choose to view yourself. Don't let comparison to others dictate how you feel about your own body. Let that higher inner voice speak up to the self-defeating voice. Choose to love yourself every part of you.